and God and said, "Dear Lord, I know maths is an E, but you are the God that makes a way in the Red Sea. If you have already made a way between Form 1 and I'm now in Form 4, what is this? What is this mere small hillock called KPSA?" And I said in that prayer, I'm going to pass in maths. And I was moving around telling my friends like Mwaka here, I'm going to score an A in maths. But teachers say there are no miracles in math. There are no miracles, but I did revision and everything. Now I'm waiting for the exam. I did the exam in Braille. I learned Braille in Form 3, did an exam in Form 4 KCSE with Braille 1 year after.
Child and I walked into the school together with my father in the year 2009. And that is where I began my primary school journey. And when I also think about who dare despise the day of small things, I also think about my honorable director, Engineer Ochome. Those days, his school was just in its nascent stages. But when he stands to address a battery of directors today as a chairperson, then the words, "who dare despise the day of small things," have been exemplified today. Every person, life is a journey, and every person must walk through its rough and rugged terrain. Allow me to just highlight the topic of focus before I conclude with my amazing testament, which will form the pinnacle of this conversation today. And I'll be covering rethinking inclusivity. I had slides, I don't know if they will be projected, but my topic was rethinking inclusivity. And the person handling the slides, Mr. Mwema, you just try to cope with me. I don't see the slides, so when I speak, you ensure that you are following me. So the slides follow me, I don't follow the slides. It's amazing. So, rethinking, why the topic rethinking inclusivity? It seems that we had lost it somewhere, and somehow we had forgotten about what inclusivity really meant. And I'm also happy that the framers of the Constitution, under Article 10 of our Constitution, under the principles and values of governance, have expressly provided for the principle of inclusivity. But I want to lower my focus and narrow it to inclusivity in education. And I also want to point out that Kenya has ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. And my main point of reference will be the general comment number 4 by the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disability, focusing on the rights to education of persons with disability. Under that general comment, you find certain key terms defined in paragraph 11. And one of the key words defined there is exclusion. Exclusion essentially means that persons with disabilities are locked out. They are not given an opportunity. They come to school and they are told, go and search for another institution, or they're told you have to do a certain exam or take a certain assessment, which the person making the statements and the arguments really knows that the person with disability cannot attain. I also want to define the word segregation. Segregation means that persons with disabilities are kept in institutions that are separate, so that they learn separately, they live separately, and they go through the entire education system segregated from their fellows in the mainstream schools. Another word defined in that general comment is the word integration. And we more often than not confuse the word integration and the word inclusion. But that general comment tries to draw a distinction between the two. And today you're going to learn what is the distinction between the two, because we've been confusing them a lot of times, right? Right? So integration means that persons with disabilities are allowed to access normal institutions, but they have to adjust to the requirements of the institution, so that it is not the institution to adjust to their needs, rather it is them to adjust and adapt to the institutional prerequisites. Then we come to our word of the day. Our word of the day is inclusivity. The general comment defines inclusivity as a system where resources, facilities, infrastructure, structures are put in place that allow persons with disabilities to access an education in a mainstream school. And that will be our point of focus today. And allow me to, because I have limited time, to touch on the key and core tenets of inclusivity. The core tenets of inclusivity include, number one, a whole systems approach. What is a whole systems approach? A whole systems approach focuses on culture. We have to reform the cultural systems in our educational institutions and our schools or private schools. It also focuses, a whole systems approach focuses on reforming practices. It focuses on laying down policy that then allow and give an impetus to persons with disabilities to access an education in any institution that they so desire to pursue their education. And today I want to mention one thing, that if you do your research and look at the human rights model of disabilities, then you will realize that most of the obstacles that we face as persons or students with disabilities are from external sources. They are constraints and obstacles that are put upon us because of the culture, because of how people perceive disability. That students with disabilities are perceived as having less potential. And I believe that this is the time to make reforms. Our schools need to have proper policy, and policy does not work independently. It must be driven hand in hand with the culture, with practice, because sometimes the law on paper seems to be nearly superfluous and irrelevant if practice and policy is not put in place. Are we together?
Yes.
People are very silent. I fear your silence. It's loud silence. So we proceed. The second core tenet of inclusivity is adopting a whole person approach. What is a whole person approach? You look at the student, perhaps he has sickle cell disease. And you know sickle cell disease is a problem. I don't know if you understand that sickle cell disease may be understood to be a disability, because most of the time they're missing school, they're hospitalized because of joint pains, because of breathing difficulties. Do we really consider students with sickle cell disease? So that when we are adopting a whole person approach, we have to adopt what we call an individualized education program. And this is working in the USA, it's working in Armenia. And what happens in an individualized education program? It is not the government to come and put for you individualized education program. Number one, it all bottles down to the school administration. The school administration has to collaborate with the parents and with the teachers, and the teachers have to be trained. And when the parents come and say, my child has a disability, then you have to now set up a blueprint that will help this child recover for the lost moments in class. It is also important that I mention that inclusivity has another core tenet, that is support. And support comes from the teaching and non-teaching staff. And as I just said in my supra avarments today, that it is the leadership of the institutions that are to take the forefront in this new race towards achieving inclusivity. We have to employ teachers who have expertise and the prowess in disability education. There were a couple of people who graduate annually with special needs education. Do we employ them? And if we then receive a parent who has an autistic child in our institution, do we then have to turn them down because we don't have the experts to deal with autistic spectrum disorder? It is important that we put in support systems. It is important that we have a conducive learning environment, that persons with disabilities feel safe, they feel secure, they feel a sense of belonging. It is also important that persons with disabilities are respected. If you turn down somebody with disabilities from an institution, where is the respect for human dignity? Because a person should be respected because of the inherent core of their humanity, rather than a constraint or a deviation in their outward external faculty. I am finalizing on my presentation. Don't worry, I know it's boring. Is it? Isn't it? Is it? Should I continue?
Yes.
Should I continue?
Yes.
Assistive software are accessed and used by persons or students with disabilities within our institution. Do we have large print, for example? And if we have students who are using spectacles in our schools, because sometimes these conditions deteriorate, has the association or have our individual schools communicated to the association that we have a child with albinism, has some sight condition, we need large print, or even for the blind, it's their brain, or even for the deaf? Do we have interpreters or people who have hearing impairment, not completely, but even partially? These are the questions that we are asking ourselves when we are going back. And we are saying that when we came to MOMBASA, we not only came for Raha, but we also came for insights. Is it? Right? As I conclude, I'm not concluding yet because how many minutes have I taken so far? I have to ask. Because I might be chased away. It's called little power. So, the next tenet is adaptation. We have to adopt what is called the universal design system of learning. Does anybody understand what that is? UDL? Universal design learning. Let me define to you or for you what universal design means. Rod Mace, a great scholar, he had physical impairment, defined universal design as the construction of a product in a manner that it is usable to the greatest extent by all people without need for adaptation. Let me begin from construction. When we are constructing our classes, do we ever mind that one day we might admit somebody with a physical impairment into our institution? Or we just throw caution to the wind and say, oh, let's just build stairs. You know, stairs is cheap. The engineers will tell you it's cheaper, right? So we have to hold all these considerations into play so that when we are doing our construction conforms to universal design, our classes have proper lighting for vision impaired, we have ramps all over, we have proper elevators, we have ensured that we conform to the principles of universal design. Let me go to universal design learning. This is adopted by the teachers. I think teachers really need a lot of training in that area. I think we can organize later, but let me just mention it to the director so that they take it home. So universal design learning has three major components, which include, number one, we have recognition, number two, strategic learning, and number three, we have strategic learning and effective learning. Recognition, when the teachers are teaching, are they considering that there is somebody with limitation in terms of disability, like visual impairment, hearing impairment, so that they make their presentation accessible, maybe live print, maybe give notes after the class, maybe make sure that they have tactile format. Then when you come to strategic learning, you realize that is the response. What is the response of the learner? This is competency-based curriculum. What is the response? How do they respond? Do they have a paper, for example? Can they write on a paper? If they can't write on a paper, then they can write on braille. If they can write on braille, then they can use ICT and laptop. You know? The reasonable accommodation. Now the system has matured. Acceptability. The schools have accepted that, yes, persons with disabilities form part of our community, and we have to consider them. Let them come in. Let them be admitted. We have the facilities. Very, very important. But before I come to my testimony, allow me also to mention that we have persons with sickle cell disease and mentioned that we need to put strategy. We have persons with autism spectrum disorder. We need to employ staff. We need to put in the strategy. We need to train. We need to sensitize. We need to do a lot of things. A lot of things have not yet been done. But I believe that with faith, it can be done. It will be done. It shall be done. It's possible. Because it takes willpower, doesn't it? It only takes willpower, doesn't it? Yes. Reasonable accommodation. So, sickle cell anemia, ASD, and epilepsy also. Do we ever consider that we might have epileptic students amongst our students? So that's why when you are having that admission form, we can work on this so that when you have an admission form, you also ask, does your child have any sort of disability? So that sometimes the parents might answer in the affirmative. What considerations should we put in place? And which kind of disability? Then you engage the parents from the farm when the child is being admitted. Also, continuous assessment in terms of intervention. So, because people acquire disability, so that you are testing, you realize the teachers also give back feedback reports on how children are doing, or if they have detected that there is any sort of disability among your students. Parents need to get what we call return on investment. I know you love that one a lot, return on investment. But I'm not talking about the return on investment in economics, I'm talking about in education. When parents are paying fees, are they getting what they rightfully deserve, even for persons with disabilities, or they'll be excluded, left out? We don't have structures. That's my lecture. Let me come to my testimony. This is my testimony. I never introduced myself. My name is Ominde. I am the co-founder of Safe Space. This is the welfare group of persons with disabilities in Western Nairobi. I am a third-year student of Kenyatta University School of Law, LLB, and I am also an alumnus of the great Golden Elite School in Kisumu. So my education journey began in 2009. It wasn't easy at all, as I had said. My dad took me to Golden Elite School. He held my hand. I did 2 interviews. I did one interview in Miami, the other interview I did in Golden Elite. Then in our talk, I realized people at the back are not getting it clear. Now I have to say this clear. Is it clear? Yes. Is it clear? Yes. So when I was in Golden Elite, I tried 2 interviews, one in Miami, one in Golden Elite. I remember the assessment was quite thorough because at that moment I already acquired a disability from a quinine overdose. Yeah, as a consequence of a misprescription by a local pharmacy. I only realized that later when I started stumbling into obstacles. I went to Nyanza Provincial Hospital. They said, oh, it's a problem with it's a problem with the optic nerve perhaps, but that was not last period. I went with Sabatia. Sabatia said nothing can be done about it. Let the boy do break. I went to Bezos, let the boy do break. But I was adamant to do break. Changing the inevitable, but our fiction to motion sometimes. So I started my journey in God and needs. I was admitted. I'm glad I was admitted. A hand of applause for the director. So I was admitted there. Instead, I was using spectacles to describe at first. The doctors, the ophthalmologists thought that
spectacles, standard 1. Imagine a standard 1 student, a bespectacled standard 1 student. It's funny, right? So bespectacled, that's a standard 1, standard 2, standard 3. Standard 3, I realized, oh, my spectacles ain't working. What do you do when your spectacles aren't working? So unless you have such a father, then you can't move. You can't move. It's called love and affection that surpasses and transcends all comprehensible notions of thought. That's why I call it dreams from my father. I've called it Wheel of Steel, but it can also be called Dreams from my father. It's just that when I call it Dreams from my father, Obama might sue me, so I'm not calling it Dreams from my father today. You know Obama's Dreams from my father. So I do that program, go back to school, Form 3, second term, I'm learning braille. My dad again has to push the ministry to bring a special teacher for me, because there are no teachers in Miranda who do special needs education. Knocked the ministry headquarters. The deputy director special needs MOE had to come home and apologize and say, oh, we are sorry, we never put in structures. But I'm glad at last they put in structure. They brought a special needs teacher to do the transcription, to translate the braille into text, and the teachers could now read. And by the end of Form 3, I was getting A's in history. Things are improving now. Telling my friends, can you read me the board? Can you do this? But at least at that time, I could read print. So I used to sit next to the window and allow light penetration. So when light comes in, I can see my exam papers. I remember they were KPSA exams, I must mention. And so sometimes amazing, I could beat all the rest, getting 450. I remember standard 3 exam, I was the third. And the teacher came out and said, you imagine Ominde is beating all of you with this? That was in standard 3. Then I went over to standard 4, standard 5, same, struggling. At night, I can't do my papers. I can't do my homework. Sometimes teachers like KDIC students a whole lot because of not doing homework. But I had my reasons because I couldn't see with artificial light. I could only see with natural light. So when I can't do my homework, come back, I can see the blackboard. I only had sight to do exam in a well-lit place. I thank a lot of friends. But in standard 8, let me just get there because there's another big story here. Standard 8, I'm grateful again, the staff at Golden Elite's amazing staff. Mr. Bira, we have Madam Elizabeth Mutua, amazing. They connected with the Kenya National Examination Council. I did large print. I scored 405 during Matiang'i. That is Matiang'i, not Kaimeni. May my words not be used against me. Then I was admitted to Form 1, called to Form 1 in Miranda High School, in Bondo. So looking at Form 1, went to Form 1, and some people were saying, some staff there were saying, how can we admit you to Miranda? We don't have facilities, we don't have resources. So while other students are being admitted for 30 minutes, I took 4 hours. My dad was struggling with them, telling a push and pull, and I have the admission letter from the government. So do we admit the boy? We don't have resources, But I'm glad, amazing principal there, the former chief principal, Boaz Owido, he said, let the boy be admitted. And I know when all of you are going back to the places you come for, this is the words that will be ringing on your mouths. Let the boy be admitted. Let the girl be admitted. So I began a tough road there. In Form 1, I could use large print. So doing my exams, large print. And I got my friend, where is Mwaka? Mwaka, can you wave to this? This is my brother. He assisted me 5 years. He was assisting me in Miranda for 5 years plus Corona, remember. Getting to Form 4, another hurdle. Somebody say another hurdle. I tell you, life is full of hurdles. The director said it in the morning, right? So, I was taking 8 subjects. That is maths, English, Kiswahili, all sciences, history and business. But now, at Form 4 first term, January, the exam, you should register with NEC by the end of January. It's 1 week to the close of registration. Then I realized that the MOE policy says that for visually impaired persons, there is no taking physics and chemistry. I'm in Form 4. What do you do? This is the story you are going back to your school. What do you do as a parent? What do you do so that when you realize the plight of many parents in Kenya, you will have a soft spot for them? I'm trying to create a soft spot, and I know your hearts are already soft. So, I realized that 1 week, I'm still doing physics, chemistry. My dad again has to run, take Easy Coach from Kisumu, knocking at the ministry headquarters in Nairobi. They have to engage with the director. So, what a director, what do we do? There is no physics and chemistry. I realized the policy says so, and I only realized the policy says so 1 week to the end of registration. So it's a push and pull, other parties are saying, oh, we are the policy makers. My dad is saying, I'm the boy's father. Sometimes you have to say, I'm the boy's father. I'm the boy's father. Dreams from my father. So there is an altercation. I also have my uncle was in that meeting here. He can wave, amazing people. Uncle Willis, you can wave, support. So he was the secretary in that meeting. So they're engaging there, but the director was good. He understood, but there was a stalemate, a deadlock. So who has to be called? In my book, The Wheel of Steel, I say the arbiter of truth. The arbiter of truth was Kenya National Examination Council. When they were called, that was Dr. Karogo Nancy, who was the then CEO. Then the phone was put on loudspeaker, then the director asked Dr. Karogo, do we really have physics and chemistry for visually impaired persons? No. What is the solution? The solution is let the boy drop the 2 subjects at Form 4, let him take home science as a second science, so that he does a minimum of 7. Another question, is there home science in Miranda? Thank you for answering correctly. What do you do when you get to the end of the road? Take the toughest route out. The solution was agriculture as a second science. That's NEC policy, so that I do 7, minimum of 7. Is the boy undertaking agriculture? I had dropped agriculture in Form 1. What do you do? Take the toughest way out. I picked up agriculture at Form 4 first term, 2020. We are moving regardless. The naysayers cannot stop us. I took up agriculture, moved on with it, started learning. Then COVID came, 6 months out. We went back to school in October 2020. Then mathematics again became a problem because my teacher, unfortunately, he received greener pastures, he left. So I had a new teacher of special needs education at Miranda, but she did a good job, transcription, but she was not specialized in mathematics brain. So she never had the technical know-how of how to translate mathematics into brain. So I bounced back from my good grades in maths, which I had recovered after the after the coming of the special needs teacher, I went back to EASE. This is third term now. I'm speaking about 2021, the third term. I'm getting ease in maths because now my teacher who used to train me in maths has left. And I'm also having a new subject to battle with, which is agriculture. But amazing, the role of ICT. And I know your institutions are willing to work with us, Safe Space, so that we sensitize your teachers, we train them, we put in ICT software for visual impaired, if you have visual impaired persons in your institution, the Balabolka, NVDA softwares, JAWS, so that at least those with visual impairment can also get an opportunity to learn on equal grounds with the rest, and the entire school fraternity is sensitized. So at that time, I said, let me ask my good special needs teacher, my new special needs teacher, to get me papers, because it's now 1 week. In the post-mock that was 2 weeks, let me say this, in the post-mock that was 2 weeks to the KPSA exam, I got an E in math. I used ICT. The reason why I was mentioning ICT, my dad bought me a laptop and the school accepted. So I put in the softwares, I put in all the books in soft copy, and I started listening. So I was listening to notes on my laptop and writing my exams in Braille. So by the time I put so many agriculture exams from all mocks throughout Kenya, that by the time that post-mock, I was doing that post-mock, I was the second best in agriculture with an A-. There is light at the end of the tunnel for persons with disabilities. There is light, and even those who can't perceive light must now perceive it, because the morning has dawned. So I got an E in math, A- in agriculture. That last exam before KPSA, I had 61 points. But amazingly, I had 1 point in math and 60 points in the other 6. I told my teacher, bring me braille papers of mathematics from Nico House. It's next to Miranda. She brought me. She did an amazing job also. I revised them, tried to see what are the questions that I said. And then I went and knelt in my corner. I had the director saying he's a believer. I'm a believer too. But I knelt in the corner and said, dear Lord, I know maths is an E, but you are the God that makes a way in the Red Sea. If you have already made a way between Form 1 and I'm now in Form 4, what is this? What is this mere small hillock called KPSA? And I said in that prayer, I'm going to pass in maths. And I was moving around telling my friends, like Mwaka here, I'm going to score an A in maths. But teachers say, there are no miracles in math. There are no miracles, but I did revision and everything. Now I'm waiting for the exam. I did the exam in Braille. I learned Braille in Form 3, did an exam in Form 4 KCSE with Braille 1 year after. Again, my dad at the center of it all. And if this story were to have a different title, it would be called Dreams from My Father. My dad is in the room. Let him wave to the people before I proceed. Holding my hand. You know, sometimes you miss the line. Holding my hand. Can you write in the line, Bwana? He's a good man. So as Form 1, we did large print, then Form 2. This is where the trouble begins, because remember, it's called retinitis pigmentosa. It deteriorates, the vision diminishes. So in Form 2, I realized, number 1, it started with mathematics. When I'm trying to see my mathematics exam, I want you to picture this and imagine this so that you know what students with disabilities are going through, so that when you go back, it's let the boy be admitted. So I am looking at the exam paper. I can't differentiate between 1 and 4 because of the glare. I can't differentiate between 4 and a plus sign. I can't differentiate between 3 and 8. I can't do construction. It's a normal paper. I can't do bearing. I can't draw. I can't. So it's all It's all a maze of incomprehensible symbols and words, and it's ahead of it. I couldn't do the exams at Form 2. The vision is gone. At Form 3, I realize now, totally print disabled. I can't even see the sentences I used to see. When I'm doing history and government, I used to score A all throughout Form 1, Form 2, but it reached Form 3. I couldn't see anything. I only did one question. I got my first E in mathematics. In history and government. I was getting a lot of them for obvious reasons in math. Now, what do you do? What do you do as a parent? I know you are parents. What do you do? What do you do as a parent? I know all of you, many of you are parents here. What do you do as a principal? What do you do to such a child? So my dad is running around at that time, trying to search for people, going and knocking Jogo House, ministry doors, the headquarters. Bwana director, what do we do? Well, my child can't see. Then I'm glad where there is a will, there's a way. I found Kenya Institute of Integrated Education somewhere in Kisumu, and they advised, they did all the tests. We had CCTV testing, trying to project. What can you see? What can I see? Even the largest kind of writings, they're trying, can he see this large writing? I couldn't see any large writing, even those projected on a computer screen. Then they say, it's the end of the road. It's the end of the road. But I'm glad I've written this in my book, Will of Steel. It will be published next year with the support of millions of people. When you get to the end of the road, take the toughest route out. I took the toughest route out. I had to do braille in Form 3. Something people do from primary school in special needs education centers. I had to take it, went all the way to Kenya Institute of the Blind, and please mark this, we have institutions that rehabilitate persons with disabilities and ensure that they go back to the mainstream system. Kenya Institute for the Blind, for the visually impaired. I went there, but another obstacle, let me say this, I must say this so that you see why it's called Will of Steel. Do I have the time, please? Or should I stop it, Madam CEO? Let Madam CEO tell me to continue so that I continue. Should I continue? I should. So I have the liberty to proceed now. Oh, my hands are untied. Let me proceed. So getting to Kenya Institute of the Blind, they have a policy there. I'm sweating. Is there something? So this is Mombasa. I'm now acclimatizing to Mombasa, right? So Kenya Institute of the Blind have their policy there. They're saying, when we come and train you for 9 months, rehabilitate you, you have to leave your mainstream school, come here, study for 9 months, then we prescribe an institution of our choice for you where you go back and proceed with your learning, and most probably Thika. So getting there, the agreement with the ministry director was that I'm to go to KIB, do a holiday program, special holiday. I never wanted to leave school. You have to have a will of steel. Just wanted to do holidays, then proceed. They're telling me, no, you have to drop out of school 9 months, then go back to Form 1. So getting there, they tell me, no, we can't train you for 9 months. You have to make up your mind, stop school, come here, then we'll rehabilitate you and refer you to Form 1. But we said, no. Why are you shutting the door for us? We want to beat this mountain. You're not seeing this great purpose ahead of me. Perhaps you're not seeing it. So we had to go back to Kisumu, but we received the call from the ministry director, told us, go back. And they admitted us at last. But though begrudgingly as they did, but at last I was admitted. I undertook a course of 9 months during the August holidays 2019 and November holidays, 5 weeks. 9 months in 5 weeks. Can you imagine? Again, my dad at the center of it all. And if this story were to have a different title, it would be called Dreams from My Father. My dad is in the room. Let him wave to the people before I proceed. unless you have such a father, then you can't move. You can't move. It's called love and affection that surpasses and transcends all comprehensible notions of thought. That's why I call it dreams from my father. I've called it Wheel of Steel, but it can also be called dreams from my father. It's just that when I call it dreams from my father, Obama might sue me, so I'm not calling it dreams from my father today. You know Obama's dreams from my father. So I do that program, go back to school, Form 3, second term, I'm learning braille. My dad again has to push the ministry to bring a special teacher for me, because there are no teachers in Miranda who do special needs education. Knocked the ministry headquarters. The deputy director special needs MOE had to come home and apologize and say, oh, we are sorry, we never put in structures. But I'm glad at last they put in structure. They brought a special needs teacher to do the transcription, to translate the braille into text, and the teachers could now read. And by the end of Form 3, I was getting A's in history. Things are improving now. You need to have faith. You need to have faith, because sometimes it's a faithless world, it's a hopeless world, but with God, everything is possible, I tell you. Now listen, this is the climax. Now we are getting to the apotheosis. You know that one? The climax now. Everybody has to be keen, because if you take nothing home, please make sure you take this. So, I'm waiting for the result. The results come in May. I'm just happy, lazing around at home after finalizing my exam. I realized, breaking news, Bagoa to release KPSA results. What was my first action? I told my cousin, please make sure you iron my clothes, because today is a great day. Who does that? Because you might iron your clothes, then your name is not mentioned. Where do you hide your face? So I'm waiting, I'm seated with my dad in the house. The lights, electricity, blackout, pop. We have radios. Even if the television goes off, we will see it, we will hear it, we will perceive it. Not even KPSA can stop us. We are seated there, Magoa is reading the results. Then he reads top 10 Kenya, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. I'm not in top 10 Kenya. He reads the youngest people, under 18. Then he now comes to my category, special needs. He's mentioning the names. I thought I would be 1. He mentions 1, I'm not there. 2, I'm not there. 3, I'm not there. But somehow I knew, my dad was saying, your name will be here, don't worry. That day he mentioned till number 15. But this is the moment. When he was mentioning number 9, number 8, number 9, the number 10, Ominde Moses John, Miranda High School. 80.1%. That's an MI now, 78 points. Mathematics was A. English was A. Swahili was A. To say everything, agriculture was A. We need to have faith. These people, we people, I'm talking on behalf of the voiceless now. These people have potential. We people have potential. It has not yet been tapped. So the Englishmen call it untapped potential. Please go back to your schools and tap it. So after that, I realized the words of one Jefferson Weldo, an American independence fighter, who said that if you build a better mouse trap, if you preach a better sermon, and if you write a better book than your neighbor, even if you build your home in the woods, the world will beat a path to where you are. I had built a story of resilience. My dad at the pillar. I had written a story of perseverance, endurance, believing the impossible, imagining the unimaginable, and hoping amidst the abyss of despair. Sometimes you have to hope within despair. Obama once said, there's been nothing false about hope. Only hope is true. And when you get people who hope with you, then you can achieve anything you want. Madam CEO, pardon me for my transgressions. I'm now finalizing with my final submissions to the directors. Today, we are taking home that there is need for sensitization, training among our teachers, employing staff who have expertise in disability, training our staff, making aware our staff. We are realizing that there is need to put in policy, drafting policy, changing culture, changing how we construct our school facilities and our buildings. We are realizing that we need to put in textbooks, materials. We are realizing that we need to have a disability resource room in every school, every private school in Kenya at least. That is the take home. Allow me to finalize by saying that John Fitzgerald Kennedy, JFK, once said that ask not what your country can do for you, rather ask what you can do for your country. Today we are gathered here not only to pursue or seek, but we are here and we have recognized the contribution we can make to our country, Kenya. And we have realized that our key contribution as private school owners is putting in infrastructure, resources, and structures that allow persons with disabilities to maximize their potential. And as I finish now, reaching to the nadir ends of my speech, allow me to say that let us not be persuaded by the voices of cynics and naysayers who threaten to erode the inner core of our humanity by saying that what doesn't touch us doesn't hurt us. Remember, these people are our nieces, they are our nephews, they are our cousins, they are our children, and we have the solemn and divine duty of caring for them, regardless of their status of disability. The last paragraph of my speech would be that I am very passionate about sensitization and the putting of policy and bringing real transformation in the education system in Kenya. And I believe that there can be a collaboration between private and public sector. And it is only through solidarity, it is only through unity of purpose, it is only through ingenuity, and it is only through togetherness that we will achieve this goal called inclusivity. Thank you, J.M. Ominde.